Today's the Unit 10 review. We're going to be going over this review I have. We're going to fill in some blanks. We're going to try to cover all our bases for things we've been doing the last 3 weeks. And you'll have your test tomorrow. If you know that you will not be able to attend tomorrow for whatever reason, the makeup session is Monday after school. So if you don't make it to class for me tomorrow, you know when you need to come. If you can't make it to Monday after class, then don't miss tomorrow's class. All right? You ready, Mason? All right. Okay, guys, so I was looking over your calendar and I was just recapping all the various topics that we discussed and all the lessons that we had. And this unit review should really cover everything, okay? So I want you all to help me fill in the bases. I want to start with Ben. Ben, the endocrine system is composed of blank. What are those structures that are scattered throughout the endocrine system? Like your pituitary, your thyroid, your pancreas, your adrenals, Jackie, or no, I keep calling you Jackie, sorry, Olivia. Ben, what are all those structures? The pituitary blank, the thyroid blank, glands. Okay, Olivia, and what do they secrete? Hormones. Your endocrine system is composed of glands which secrete hormones. Carson, hormones act on blank cells, and they're blank to stimulate a specific response or to synthesize a specific blank. Can you tell me what the first blank? What do hormones act on? What do they go after? If your pituitary gland secreted a hormone, what will respond to that hormone? Go ahead, Nolan. Close. What type of cells are, Jacob? No. No, not body cells. Jacob? No. No. You guys give up? Yeah, quitters. Come on. What do hormones go after? If I said the word, you would know it. I'm going to go ahead and say it. What do hormone cells target? No, you did not just say that, Morgan. Here's you just saying it.
She said target cells like four times.
Yeah, like this.
No, she's like target.
I mean, no, you're not.
No, she said it.
Target cells. Hormones act on target cells. And what is in the target cells that the hormones are really trying to stimulate and activate? No, the receptors are on the surface of the cell. What's in the cell that the hormones are trying to activate? DNA. To stimulate a specific response or to synthesize a specific close product. Now, in my AP bio classes, I've been teaching them a little bit about DNA and how all of you in here have a full copy of your DNA. It's called your genome. Your genome is a full copy of your DNA from front to back. Every last gene that makes Zoe or Will, that's your DNA. Your DNA is about 20 to 25,000 genes. Now, listen carefully. Every single one of your cells has a full copy of your DNA, every single cell. So, hypothetically, if you guys are 100 trillion cells, that makes up your whole body, 100 trillion cells, how many copies of your DNA do you have? What's that, Cooper? Why do you say 200 trillion? If I said that your body is made up of 100 trillion cells, so how many copies of your DNA do you have? Why do you say 200 trillion?
Because there's two separate.
No, you're probably thinking your mom and your dad that donated to you. Your mom and your dad combined to make you. So listen again. Every single one of your cells has a full copy of DNA. Period. If you have 100 trillion cells, how many copies of your DNA do you have? Exactly, 100 trillion. So let me ask you this, Aiden, in your brain, you have neurons. Neurons are brain cells. Does the DNA that is currently present in your neurons in your brain, do they have the codes to make a kneecap? You have a full copy of DNA in every cell. So is the gene to make a kneecap present in the DNA in your brain? Yes. End of question. Next question. Is that gene in your brain to make a kneecap turned on? No. That's what I'm teaching my AP kids now, is how it's genes can be turned on and genes can be turned off. Lauren, in your hand, you have genes to make muscle, cartilage, ligaments, tendons, blood, nerves, all the stuff that's in the hand. Do the cells in your hand have the genetic codes to make a stomach present in them right now?
Yeah.
Are those genes to make a stomach turned on in your hand? No. Are the genes to make a stomach turned on in the cells that make up your stomach? Yes. So that's the point I want to make to you guys. The majority of your DNA is turned off. Guess what little signals are able to turn them on? Hormones. You just have to have the right receptor for the appropriate hormone to correspond with the genes that need to be turned on. Yeah.
Is there a way to turn it on?
We are working on that right now, Mason. So this is what else I'm teaching. This is nothing I'm teaching AP Bio. I have an uncle, or he died recently, but anyway, he was paralyzed when he was in high school. He got in a car accident, paralyzed from the waist down his whole life. Your spinal cord is made of tissue that really doesn't heal very well. It's neural tissue. So pretty much when you're in a wheelchair, you're there the rest of your life. Well, all of your cells, every cell in your body, skin cells, muscle cells, cartilage, bone, you name it, they all originally were called stem cells when you guys were still a little embryo ball inside your mom. We're talking a ball of maybe a couple hundred cells. That's it. They're called stem cells. And every stem cell has the ability to become any type of cell. It just takes a proper signal at a proper time to activate a gene to tell the stem cell to become a stomach cell or a bone cell or a cartilage cell. Once a cell becomes a specific cell, like a neuron or a red blood cell or so on, it can't go back. It's permanent. So when you go from a stem cell to a neuron, you're a neuron for the rest of that cell's life. What we're trying to find is where's the switch that keeps it from going backwards. And if we can find the switch, maybe we could allow a cell like a neuron to go backwards to becoming a stem cell. And so let's say with my uncle, he has permanent spinal cord damage. They take his neurons, they bring them into a lab, they find the switch to allow them to revert, go backwards, rewind to become a stem cell. And those are my uncle's stem cells. Those are his cells. And then we allow them to grow and replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate and replicate, make a whole bunch more of my Uncle David's stem cells. And then they find the switch that allows that stem cell to become a spinal cord cell. They switch it on. They put those cells in his spine. His injury is healed. That's what we're trying to do right now. And if we can figure that out, you won't need organ donors anymore. You could take someone's own stem cells and put them back in that person. So if you and Carson were like a perfect match, you got in a car accident and you lost a kidney, Carson's going to donate one of her kidneys to you. You will still be on immunosuppressive drugs the rest of your life. No matter how great a match Carson is for you, your immune system still might reject it. That's his job, reject foreign tissue. So you're going to take drugs that will weaken your immune system. The good news is you won't lose your organ that she donated to you. The bad news is you could catch like any virus out there. That's why before COVID, you might see a person here or there wearing a mask because they can't risk getting sick from other people because they're on immunosuppressive drugs. So that's the problem with donors, is you have to take drugs to weaken your immune system. But what if rather than getting Carson to donate to you, you donate to yourself? That's what we're trying to figure out. And if you can do that, then you won't need to be on immunosuppressive drugs. Your body will accept your tissue. Do any of you ever watch the TV show on E called Botched, where they have like these botched plastic surgery procedures and these two doctors trying to correct the procedure? Well, let's say that Will went to Mexico and he got a horrible nose job. His nose just looks trashed. So what the doctors do a lot is they take cartilage from your rib. Whose rib? The patient's rib. Will the patient's body reject its own tissue? No. And so that's why they do that, is your body will not reject your own tissue. Sometimes when there's a burn victim, like let's say Carson was in a car accident and she badly burned her back, they can actually take skin from her legs and graft it to her back. Will her body reject her own tissue? No, it won't. That's the technology we're trying to figure out, is how can we actually, rather than need an organ donor, you basically donate to yourself. It's pretty cutting edge technology. That's biotech for you, bioengineering. But anyway, as I was saying, you guys have the DNA to make any cell in your body. You just need to activate the gene. That's what hormones do. And so hormones can actually cause multiple products. The products can be enzymes. The products could be other hormones, like your pituitary telling your thyroid to produce thyroid hormone. It could be chemical messages. And then you have just, general other things, proteins, carbs, so on and so on and so on. As I've told you guys this before, and I intentionally repeat myself because repetition is how you learn. When you were 5 years old, did you have the DNA to produce armpit hair? Yes. Your cells were there. When you were little babies, you had the DNA to produce armpit hair. The genes were just turned off. And then when you guys hit puberty, your brain, your pituitary specifically, released luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone goes down into your gonads, your testes or ovaries, and it tells them to start producing your gonadal hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and those hormones are what triggered your armpit hair growth. Boys, you typically really don't start secreting the testosterone in big amounts until 12 or 13. Girls, you typically start producing a lot of estrogen around that same age. We call that pubescence. All right, let's get back into it. A target cell has a specific blank that corresponds with a given hormone. Zoe, what's on the surface of a target cell that allows it to correspond with a hormone? Zoe, what allows you to open up the house that you live in? You have a key, right? What does the key fit into? A lock, Zoe. What do you call these locks that are on the surface of a cell that correspond with the hormone? Begins with an R. A receptor. A target cell has a specific receptor that has a given hormone. Hey, Zoe, test tomorrow. All right. When you guys secrete oxytocin, girls, when you're giving birth and your uterus is trying to contract, is oxytocin going to target your stomach? No. Why not? What do stomach cells not have? They don't have receptors for oxytocin. Do your gonads have receptors for a hormone called thyroid stimulating hormone? No. What does have receptors for a hormone called thyroid stimulating hormone? Your thyroid does. So every hormone has specific targets. We'll get into what those targets are later. Okay. Exocrine glands differ from endocrine glands in that the endocrine secretes its products into the blank. Two answers here, blank and blank. Where are hormones secreted, Jacob? Into the bloodstream. And what's the other circulatory system you guys have besides your bloodstream? No, not digestive. No, not nervous. Circulatory. It circulates throughout your body. No, that's your bloodstream. No, we haven't done the system yet. It's also in your immune system. Begins with an L. Lymphatic. Lymph, the fluids in your tissues. Where are exocrine secretions released? Look at the name, exocrine. Not necessarily out of the body, but what is it definitely not secreted in? It's not secreted in the, right. So exocrine secretions are released out of the blood in lymph. And I meant to erase these 6. I was going to have you guys fill them in. But my last class was able to identify 6 exocrine glands. You have your sebaceous glands. They are on your skin. They lubricate your hair. That's oil. If you have a lot of zits, you have a lot of oil, clogs your pores. Sweat glands. We all have sweat glands. When you get too hot, you tend to sweat. Does sebaceous oil called sebum and sweat go into your bloodstream? No. So those are exocrine glands. We have your pancreas, and I put an asterisk next to your pancreas. Does your pancreas produce hormones? Absolutely it does. But does it produce other juices? Yes, it does. It produces digestive juices. Your pancreas is shared by 2 different systems. So it has endocrine function and exocrine function. Your salivary glands, you secrete saliva. That goes in your mouth, not your blood. Mammary glands, they produce milk. That doesn't go in your blood. That exits the body. And then you have your liver. It also produces digestive juices into your digestive system. It does not go in your blood. So these are all 6 examples of exocrine glands. Do you have a system called your exocrine system? No, you don't. That's excretory, not exocrine. All right. Exocrine glands are mostly composed of blank tissue. Glandular. Now, someone in the second period says, you never taught us glandular tissue in unit 3. You're right. I taught you epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. Glandular tissue is epithelial tissue. It's mostly cuboidal epithelium. Okay. There are 2 primary types of hormones. Which ones are polar? Jacob? Yes. Yes. Amino acid based hormones. Good. Non-polar steroid. What are steroids made of? Lipids. These are lipid soluble. Amino acid hormones cannot diffuse through your plasma membrane. Why not? Because Morgan says the plasma membrane is nonpolar. Your amino acid hormones are polar. Polar and nonpolar don't mix. That's why oil spills are such a disaster. Oil is nonpolar. Ocean water is polar. The 2 don't mix. Can steroids diffuse through the plasma membrane? Sure can. Non-polar and non-polar mix. Polar and polar mix. Just you can't do the opposites. Which one requires a signal transduction pathway because they can't get to the nucleus on their own? Right. You remember when I jumped over the table and went back to Jacob or Dylan or whoever was back there? What was I trying to be? A steroid or an amino acid based hormone? No. I had to be steroid. When I gave Morgan, or I gave someone, Natalia, I don't know who, I gave them a signal, then they gave the person behind them a signal, then they told Dylan something. That's a signal transduction pathway. When the front office sends me a gold pass for one of you guys, where did that pass come from? It came from the office. Where did the office get the message from? Like a parent saying, I need to have my daughter Zoe signed out at 1 o'clock. So they bring me the gold pass and I give the gold pass to Zoe. That's a signal transduction pathway. If Zoe's mom was to walk right into school and say, Zoe, you're leaving at 1 o'clock, that would be like a steroid. It doesn't need a signal transduction pathway. It can go right to the DNA, right to the nucleus. Okay. The blank controls the endocrine system. What system controls your endocrine system? What organ system controls your endocrine system? Nervous system. What structure in your brain is the bridge between your endocrine and nervous system? Hypothalamus. Judging by that name, hypothalamus, is it above or below your thalamus? Below it. You need to be able to identify that on an actual brain. You need to know where the hypothalamus is. If I try to draw it, here's your pituitary. Where's the hypothalamus? It's right above it. Up here. Okay. Ooh, here's a question. What part of your pituitary is that?
Anterior.
Anterior. Very good. And what part is this? Which one actually makes its own hormones?
Anterior.
Good. Where does the posterior get its hormones from? Where does the posterior pituitary get its hormones from?
From the
Hypothalamus. So does the posterior produce its own hormones? It does not. What does it do? Stores it. Okay, blank is a balanced internal environment maintained by hormones. Homeostasis. Remember I told you a story about the mom who died from drinking too much water? Do you think she was within homeostatic levels? Doubtful. If somebody had hyperglycemia, their blood sugar was too high, are they within homeostatic levels? Nope. What type of feedback loop is basically meant to undo something that's happening? Your body gets too hot, you cool down. Your sugar levels are too high, you lower them. Negative feedback. Very good. Negative feedback generally says whatever's happening, stop it from happening. You need to undo it. If your body's getting too hot and too hot and too hot, you need to reverse that. If your blood sugar is getting too low, too low, too low, reverse it, bring it up. So what does positive feedback do? Cooper?
If you were to do, well, I mean, this is just like an example,
Sure.
but say I did good on the test. If I got like something like positive to reinforce me, I'll do good on the next test. Like that.
So positive feedback means to enhance something that's happening.
So it's like both positive.
Right. So a positive feedback loop is to enhance a stimulus's effect, a stimuli's effect. What's a classic example of this when it comes to the human body? Childbirth. Your contractions happen more and more and more and more and longer and longer and longer and longer until that baby's out. And you may be asking, why do I want to go back to normal? How is pushing going to push this baby more and more and more and more and more going to get me back to normal? Should I just stop pushing? No, because if you push that baby out, then you have a chance to go back to normal conditions. When you have a fever, sometimes it's good to have a fever because you're cooking that virus. Your body temperature is trying to break the proteins. So sometimes you just let the fever run its course and then you can go back to being normal once the virus is gone. Okay, now we're going to spend the rest of our time identifying all the glands you guys have to know and where they're found. And we only have about 14 minutes left. That time is going to fly by. So we need to try to hustle through this. So let's do it. We're going to start with the brain and work our way down. Your glands. We're going to start with the posterior pituitary. Does it produce its own hormones? Negative. What two hormones does it store? Oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone. What is antidiuretic hormone's abbreviation? What is the target of oxytocin? It targets the uterus. What else does it target? Mammary glands. What does it target, or what does it cause the uterus to do? Contract. What does it cause the mammary glands to do? Milk let down. What are the targets of antidiuretic hormone? Kidneys. What does it cause your kidneys to do? No. Prevent urine production. Under what conditions would you have high levels of antidiuretic hormone? Are you dehydrated or well hydrated? Yeah, you don't want to lose, you don't want to pee out what little water you have left. Will, if you were not drinking water all day, do you need to pee? No, it's pretty simple. If you were drinking water all day, do you need to pee? Yeah. If you're well hydrated, you can pee, get all the waste out. But if you are not well hydrated, you need to hold your pee because you can't afford to lose what little water you have left. All right, this next one's going to take a little while because there's just so much of it. Again, I'm trying to hustle through this because we are low on time. I need to fit all this into this video. The anterior pituitary has 6 hormones you guys need to do. 4 out of 6 are called tropic hormones. They instruct other glands on how to behave. The first hormone we'll do is growth hormone, or GH. What are growth hormones targets? Oh, I put that in the wrong color. Let's fix that. Mostly bones and muscle. And what does it cause them to do? Yeah, it's not tough. Stimulates them to grow. Okay, the next one is prolactin. What's the target of prolactin? Mammary glands. So it's pretty simple. What does it promote? Okay, the next 4 are tropic hormones. That means that they instruct other glands what to do. We have thyroid stimulating hormone. Thyroid stimulating hormone is, what's it going to target? It's pretty simple. And what does it cause the thyroid to do? Produce thyroid hormones. Okay, next one. Luteinizing hormone. Its targets. Gonads. What are the gonads? Testes and ovaries. Its purpose is to stimulate production of gonadal hormones. What is the male gonadal hormone? Testosterone. What is the female gonadal hormone? Estrogen. Good. Next, we have follicle stimulating hormone. Be sure you guys know the abbreviations. FSH. What does this target? Targets the gonads, testes, and ovaries. What does it trigger them to do? What else happens in the gonads besides production of hormones? No, that's going to be hormones. Stimulate production of what?
Oh, sperm and egg.
What do you call a sperm and egg? What's that G word?
Gametes.
Gametes. Stimulate production of gametes. Know what gametes are. Be careful not to get gonads and gametes confused. Yes, gametes are sperm and egg. And the last one is adrenocorticotropic hormone. ACTH. What do they target? Adrenals. What does this stimulate the adrenals to do? Produce cortisol. There they are. I want to do a little bonus here real quick. Those 6, which 4 are called tropic hormones? They stimulate other glands to. The ones I'm highlighting are called tropic hormones. They stimulate other glands on what to do. Okay, good. Now, the other one in the brain I haven't done yet. Easy one. The pineal gland. What is this hormone? Melatonin. What is its target? Basically the brain. And what does it do? It regulates your sleep cycles. Talked about if you're staring at your bright phone screen in the middle of the night, your brain thinks that's daylight and you're gonna have trouble getting to sleep. So put your dimmer on, lower the brightness, and put on the night shift 24/7 so you don't get that blue light killing your eyes. All right, next is the thyroid. There's 2 hormones here. We have thyroxine. You know the other one? No, calcitonin. Thyroxine targets pretty much the whole body. And what is its main job? Metabolize energy. Your thyroid is responsible for your metabolism, which is the conversion of food that you eat into energy. We have 6 minutes. I told you it's going to go by quick. Trying to get all this. The other one is calcitonin. It targets, or excuse me, yeah, its target is mostly bone. What does it cause your bones to do? Take in calcium. So if your bones are taking in calcium, are your blood levels high or low? If it's going in your bones and you need to lower, the reason that's happening is because your blood levels are too high. Okay, we're hustling. Parathyroid. Parathyroid hormone. It's not hard. PTH. It targets your bones, kidneys, and intestines to cause them to release calcium into the blood due to low calcium levels. All right, got 4 minutes here. We have your adrenals. The ones I'm going to worry about with you guys. I'm not going to have you know the difference between cortex and medulla. We have epinephrine and norepinephrine. Those are going to basically be the same. Then we have cortisol. Epinephrine and norepinephrine basically target your heart and brain in E. And epinephrine and norepinephrine basically, they stimulate sharper senses and faster heart rate. This is the fight or flight. Cortisol generally targets the whole body. It is an anti-stress, or excuse me, I shouldn't say anti-stress, anti-inflammatory. and stress reliever. Okay, it's gonna be close. Next is pancreas. What are the two hormones your pancreas produces? Insulin and glucagon. Insulin targets your muscles and liver, and it causes them to take in blood sugar or take in sugar due to high levels. Glucagon targets mostly your liver to release sugar due to low levels. Okay, last one. Gonads. Let's do ovaries first. Estrogen and progesterone. This is going to be body wide. And it basically stimulates the development of secondary sex characteristics, which is namely breast development and menstrual cycle. In the males, we have the testes. We have testosterone. No, I'm not keeping my colors consistent because I'm trying to hustle. They go through the whole body, and it also stimulates the development of secondary sex characteristics. Large muscles, deep voice, body hair, things like that.
Do we need to know like what estrogen and progesterone does to males?
No.